I'm 29, female, and after years of saving every bonus, skipping every unnecessary splurge, and sacrificing more than a few vacations, I finally bought my first home. It wasn't massive, but it was mine. A cozy 2-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood that smelled like jasmine in the mornings and bonfires in the evenings. Once I moved in and got the basics sorted, I decided to host a small housewarming, nothing fancy, just immediate family, food, and the kind of gathering where you don't need to impress anyone. My relationship with family has always been functional. My parents are supportive in the traditional sense, my cousins are fun in small doses, and my brother and his wife, well, let's just say we're polite. My brother Nathan is 3 years older than me, and his wife Amelia has always kept a calm face with slightly sharp edges. We've never fought, never argued, never said anything directly rude, but every word she speaks feels like it's carrying a second meaning underneath. If I wore a red dress, she'd compliment the bold choice. If I got a promotion, she'd hope it wasn't too stressful. I had that kind of energy. A few weeks before the housewarming, the family decided to pool money for a group gift instead of everyone bringing separate ones. My cousin suggested it in the group chat, and everyone seemed to agree quickly. It made sense, it avoids duplicates, and lets us get something meaningful. I chimed in with an idea, a custom handmade ceramic dining set made by a local artisan. I'd admired the pieces for years, simple, unique, and the kind of thing you can't buy at a chain store. Most of the responses were positive. My aunt gave it a thumbs up. My cousin replied, "Love that." But Amelia responded with a comment about it being a bit overly niche for a dining set. I didn't say anything back. My mom messaged me privately and said she thought it was a beautiful idea. Eventually, the group agreed, and I was told it had been ordered. Price was around $500 split among 8 people. Not cheap, but not extravagant either for something handmade. The day of the housewarming came. I spent the whole morning setting up. Made baked ziti, garlic bread, some finger foods, and had wine chilling in the fridge. People started showing up around 3 p.m. My parents brought a nice bottle of red. My cousin walked in with a potted fiddle leaf fig. I was waiting for someone to bring in the ceramic set box, expecting it would be a big moment, something I could unwrap and instantly place on my shelves. But no one brought it. I asked casually if the delivery was delayed. That's when Amelia, sipping lemonade on the patio, said the artist had messed up the delivery schedule. She smiled and added it would arrive probably midweek or so. I nodded, said that was fine, and moved on. I didn't want to ruin the energy, and honestly I believed her. She sounded confident, and everyone else seemed unaware. 3 days later, I was on a call with my mother. We were chatting about the leftover food, how she loved a ziti, and during that call, she said something that made my stomach tighten. She mentioned she hoped I'd already received the dishes from Nathan's place. I paused, asked what she meant. She tried to backpedal, but it was too late. I hung up and called my brother directly. No answer. I texted both him and Amelia asking where the ceramics were. Amelia responded a few hours later. According to her, the set had arrived at their place a week before the party but had been damaged in transit. She said the dishes were cracked, and since they didn't want to give me something broken, they just threw them away. No pictures. No offer to return them to the artist. No telling me beforehand. Just tossed. I stared at the screen for a long time. That set wasn't just plates and bowls. It was something I'd chosen. Something tied to my new start, my space, my taste. And they trashed it like it was a shipping error from a discount store. I didn't reply. I didn't yell, call, or accuse. I didn't beg for an explanation or try to make them see my side. I just went quiet. But something shifted. It wasn't rage, it was focus. I knew right then this wasn't over. I wasn't going to scream or throw anything back. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to make it count. They didn't just throw away a gift. They threw away my trust. And whether they realized it or not, they had started something they weren't ready to finish. A few days after the housewarming, I sent a message to the ceramic artist who made the set I had suggested for the group gift. I used a different email and didn't mention any names, just asked if an order under my brother's name had been placed and delivered recently. The reply came fast. The artist confirmed the set had been completed and delivered exactly as scheduled. Along with the email, she attached a picture of the intact dishes sitting neatly on a front porch. No cracks, no chips, no visible damage at all. I saved the picture and the order confirmation in a private folder. I didn't respond to the artist. I didn't bring it up in the family chat either. Instead, I started watching quietly. I didn't need to yell or accuse anyone. I just needed to wait. A week later, I was chatting casually with a mutual acquaintance, someone who had been close to both my brother and Amelia. I asked if they'd been over for dinner recently. They said yes and started talking about how well decorated Amelia's place was. Midway through, they mentioned how lovely the custom dinner plates were. That caught my attention. That night, I checked Amelia's social media. Sure enough, she had posted a series of pictures from a dinner party she'd hosted a few days after my housewarming. In one photo, barely noticeable, the dinner plates matched the ones I'd chosen, same soft cream glaze, same hand-painted borders, same set the artist showed on the porch. I zoomed in, screenshotted everything, and added it to the folder. I didn't say anything, but something was shifting. My brother became slower to respond to messages. Amelia stopped reacting in the group chat, unless it was something she started. Then came the message that sealed it. She posted a sarcastic line in the family group chat. Some people really think a plate makes a personality. Nobody responded, not even my brother. That weekend, we had a family dinner at my parents' place. I brought a small gift for my cousin, just a single ceramic bowl, from the same artist, simple but elegant. I wrapped it nicely and handed it to her as a late thank you for helping me during the move. She loved it and placed it on the counter where everyone could see. Amelia noticed. She walked past it twice without acknowledging it. During dinner, she barely looked at me. My brother stayed quiet, poking at his food and keeping his eyes low. No one mentioned the bowl, but no one had to. Later that night, I sat down and made a plan. Their baby shower was in a few weeks. Amelia had been talking about it nonstop in the family chat, dropping hints about her registry and decorating theme. I had already RSVP'd yes, but now I knew exactly what I was going to bring, and it wasn't from any registry. I emailed the ceramic artist again, this time from my actual account. I asked if she could make a baby-themed wall art piece, big, decorative, and impossible to ignore. I gave her the design idea, and one specific inscription I wanted included, subtly carved into the base of the piece, "For the home that throws away what it doesn't understand, may this stay with you forever." The artist replied that it was bold but doable. We went over sketches. I picked one that was just the right balance of sentimental and symbolic. It would look charming to most eyes, but anyone who knew the backstory would see it clearly for what it was. While the artist started working on the piece, I continued gathering small details. I asked my aunt what kind of decor the baby shower would have. She said Amelia was going for a soft woodland theme. I smiled and told her I was so excited to attend. I offered to bring extra chairs if needed. A week before the event, I wrapped the finished ceramic piece in a large box with layers of tissue and a wide white ribbon. It looked beautiful, harmless, the kind of gift people take pictures of for Instagram. I RSVP'd again to the baby shower, just to make sure I was on the list. Amelia sent back a cheerful response, not suspecting a thing. My brother didn't message me at all. I marked the date in my calendar and prepared myself to walk in, smile, and hand over a gift they'd never be able to trash without everyone asking questions. They thought they could erase a gift and I'd just move on. But I wasn't just giving them something this time. I was giving them a message, one they'd have to look at every day, one they couldn't return, couldn't explain away, and definitely couldn't throw out without raising eyebrows. They had no idea what was coming. The baby shower was held at a rented hall decorated with soft blues, white balloons, and wooden animal centerpieces. It looked like something straight off a Pinterest board. The tables were lined with white tablecloths, small favor bags, and a gift table that was already overflowing. I arrived just on time, wearing a light green dress and carrying a large square gift box tied with a thick cream ribbon. A few relatives noticed the size of the box and asked about it. I just smiled and placed it carefully at the far end of the table. My brother spotted me first. He nodded slightly but didn't come over. Amelia was chatting with a group of friends near the refreshment table. When she noticed me, her smile froze for a second, then returned, tight, polite, but not warm. It was clear she hadn't expected me to actually show up, let alone bring something that couldn't be tucked into a diaper bag. An hour in, they started the unwrapping. One of Amelia's friends held a mic and ran the show, calling out names and comments for each gift as Amelia opened them. There were the usual baby clothes, bottles, toys, and themed books. Laughter and clapping followed each item, even the plain ones. Mine was one of the last to be opened. The friend called my name, and someone carried the box over to Amelia. She peeled the ribbon, opened the lid, and pulled out the custom ceramic wall piece, hand-painted with woodland animals and soft pastel edges. Everyone leaned in to see. Then came the part only a few people caught, the inscription embedded in the ceramic base. "For the home that throws away what it doesn't understand, may this stay with you forever." A few gasps rippled across the room. One of Amelia's friends squinted, then looked at her. My brother's expression changed instantly. He went pale, turned toward me, and didn't blink for a few seconds. Amelia stared at the message like she couldn't place it. Then something clicked. She tried to smile, gave a stiff thank you, and quickly moved the gift to the back table. Her voice cracked slightly when she said it would look perfect in the nursery. The event ended not long after. While everyone was grabbing cupcakes and saying their goodbyes, Amelia came up to me near the hallway to the restrooms. Her tone was quiet but firm. She asked if I had intentionally tried to embarrass her. I didn't raise my voice or react. I told her that the gift came from the same ceramic artist she and my brother said had delivered broken plates. I wished her well, turned, and walked straight out. That night, in the family group chat, my brother posted a vague message thanks to everyone who kept the event warm and normal. Not everyone needs to make things about themselves. Nobody replied. Not one person reacted or sent an emoji. The next day, my mother called. She asked what had happened because she'd heard whispers and didn't understand the tension. I told her everything from start to finish. Then I forwarded her the emails and photos from the ceramic artist, pictures of the original set delivered to my brother's porch, perfectly intact. She didn't respond for a minute. Then she said, "Okay," and hung up. That was it. Later that week, Amelia sent out invites for a small follow-up lunch she was hosting, but my mother didn't go. Neither did one of my aunts. No one explained why, but I noticed. Two of my cousins texted me the same day. One just wrote, "That was iconic." The other sent a string of clapping emojis and said, "She had that coming for years." I didn't respond to either, but I smiled and added those screenshots to the same folder as everything else. The wall piece wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about making something visible. They had tried to bury my original gift, hide it, erase it, but this one was big. This one had a message they couldn't rewrite, couldn't downplay, and couldn't dispose of without everyone noticing. And still, I wasn't finished. I already had a new idea forming, something they couldn't spin, couldn't misinterpret, and definitely couldn't deny. Because the truth wasn't just coming out anymore. It was going on display. A week after the baby shower, the ceramic artist sent me an email. She wanted to give me a heads up. Apparently, Amelia had contacted her directly, asking if it was possible to adjust the inscription on the baby gift. The message was polite on the surface but filled with subtle pressure. Amelia described the wording as an inappropriate statement for a child's gift and asked if it could be reglazed or altered somehow. The artist politely refused and forwarded me the entire email thread without being asked. I thanked her and added every screenshot to my folder. The artist wasn't the only one being contacted. My mother called me one afternoon with an odd tone in her voice. She said Amelia had told her that I'd been holding a grudge since childhood, claiming I was obsessed with her life and trying to ruin her experience of becoming a mother. My mom didn't give an opinion, she just passed the message along. But that told me everything I needed to know. Amelia was trying to flip the story before anyone else got a chance to ask questions. Not long after that call, my cousin called and said Amelia had been telling people I made up the whole ceramic set situation, that I fabricated the story about the original gift being thrown away just to get attention. That was it for me. I went to a local print shop and made 10 small booklets. Each one included high-resolution images of the original dishes on their porch, every email exchange with the artist, screenshots of Amelia using the set at her dinner, and the recent email asking to change the baby inscription. No captions, no commentary, just facts in sequence. I mailed a copy to each key family member with no note and no return address. 2 days later, my father called. He didn't ask questions. He just said, "I don't know what they're thinking, but this was way too far." Then he paused and added, "You didn't need to do anything else." That was enough. By the end of that week, I noticed my aunt had unfollowed both Amelia and my brother on social media. She quietly declined the RSVP for their upcoming baby sprinkle event. She didn't say anything to me directly, but the message was clear. People were starting to form their own opinions. Amelia responded by trying to tighten her circle. She held a small gathering for her side of the family only. My parents were told it was a private event and weren't invited. Neither was I. She posted a few carefully curated pictures afterward, only showing smiles, floral arrangements, and a vague caption about peaceful spaces. A few days after the gathering, I received a message from my brother. No greeting, no explanation, just a line that said he wished things had gone differently and he hoped we could all move forward. I didn't open it. I didn't delete it either. I left it sitting there unread. While they were hosting baby sprinkles and damage control brunches, I was organizing. I gathered all the printed proof into a scrapbook, photos, receipts, digital confirmations, and timelines. I made a physical version and stored it in my bookshelf under a labeled file. I uploaded the same content to a cloud folder and backed it up on a drive. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was documentation. Then came the call from my uncle. He told me Amelia had asked him to speak with me. She believed the whole situation had gotten too toxic and that I should apologize for publicly humiliating her at a family event. I asked him if he'd seen the booklet. He said yes. I asked if anything in it was untrue. He didn't answer that, just sighed and said, "I figured this is where it was going." After that call, the conversations started happening without me. My cousin reached out to ask if Amelia had really asked the artist to change the baby gift. I told her to check her mailbox. She replied the next morning with a single line, "Yup, saw it." By then, people were talking. Not in the group chat, but in private texts and quiet phone calls. Family members were comparing notes, realizing stories didn't match, timelines weren't adding up. I didn't make a statement. I didn't ask anyone to take sides. I didn't even reply to most of the messages. All I had done was lay out the truth, piece by piece, and let it land where it landed. Their story had started to unravel, and the best part was, I hadn't had to say a single dramatic word to push it. But I still wasn't done. Because the next part wasn't about them. It was about making sure what really happened never got rewritten. This time, I was going to make it permanent. A few weeks after mailing out the booklets, I visited my grandmother for tea. We sat in her living room, surrounded by photos and old keepsakes. Hanging behind her sofa was a quilt I'd seen 100 times but never really looked at. It was stitched with names, years, and small fabric symbols, each one representing a milestone, a birth, a wedding, a family story. That quilt had been growing for decades, and something about it stuck with me that day. That night, I searched for a textile artist online and found someone who specialized in memory pieces. I messaged her with a long idea, a modern family wall tapestry to hang in my entryway. It would have the names of everyone involved in my housewarming gift, and beside each name, a symbol or object representing their contribution. Where most would have plants, wine bottles, or wrapped gifts, 2 names, my brother's and Amelia's, would have a stitched broken ceramic plate cracked neatly down the center. The artist loved the idea and started sketches within the week. I called every person who had chipped in for the original group gift and asked if they'd be comfortable with their name being on the tapestry. Every single one of them said yes, even the cousin who only contributed $20. When I reached out to my brother and Amelia for their consent, they didn't respond. So I included them anyway, factually accurately without insult. Their part in the story was real. Their symbol reflected it perfectly. Word about the tapestry started to spread before it was even finished. My mother called and said Amelia had rung her, furious that I was turning family history into performance art. My mother kept her response neutral and told her to talk to me directly if she had a problem. She didn't. Around the same time, Amelia attempted to plan a holiday dinner. Only 5 people RSVP'd. A few days later, my father announced he'd be hosting a smaller get-together instead. Same date, but a different vibe. That dinner ended up with 14 guests. Amelia's had 5, including herself. I didn't need to say anything. The shift was already happening. When the tapestry arrived, it was even better than I imagined. Stitched with neutral tones and soft embroidery thread, it was elegant and quiet but said everything it needed to. I hosted a small game night the following weekend and hung it up right by the front door. No one commented at first. People walked past it, glanced at it, then kept moving. But halfway through the evening, my aunt poured herself a drink, looked straight at it, and said, "Well, it's accurate." Nobody disagreed. No one asked why my brother's symbol was a broken plate. Everyone already knew. Not long after, my mother told me Amelia had called her again, this time crying about being excluded and scapegoated by the family. She didn't say my name once, but every part of the call was about me. My mother didn't offer her comfort. She just listened and let her vent. My brother didn't say anything during all of this. No messages, no calls, no birthday texts. He stayed silent, watching from the sidelines. It wasn't like him. Even when we disagreed in the past, he always made small efforts. This time, nothing. A few days later, a friend of the family mentioned something to me at the grocery store. She'd been invited to one of Amelia's lunches but said she didn't attend. Apparently, Amelia had warned her that things might be awkward if she came to events I hosted. That was enough for her to decline. I hosted a brunch 2 weekends after that. Nothing fancy, just eggs, fruit platters, coffee, and a few bottles of Prosecco. I invited everyone myself, one by one. Amelia and my brother were not on the list. The atmosphere was relaxed, easy. People laughed, lingered after the food, stayed long past the invite time. On their way out, a few family members pulled me aside and said how refreshing it was not to have to monitor their words or energy all afternoon. I decided that night to keep the tapestry up permanently. It wasn't petty. It wasn't loud. It was just honest. It told a story that didn't need to be retold at every gathering, because now it was stitched into the fabric of my home. People could take it how they wanted, but it was staying exactly where it was. In a family where things often get smoothed over, reworded, or forgotten, I finally had something no one could rewrite. And that changed everything. A neighbor who also happens to be a longtime friend of my cousin ran into me at a local cafe. We exchanged pleasantries, then she leaned in and mentioned Amelia had brought up the ceramic gift again, weeks after the baby shower. According to her, Amelia was calling the gift cruel and saying it was a targeted attempt to embarrass a new mother. I didn't say much at first, just nodded. When she asked what really happened, I pulled out my phone and calmly showed her a few of the receipts and emails, including the artist's photo of the undamaged dish set on Amelia's porch. She blinked, thanked me for being honest, and told me she appreciated getting the full story. Within a few days, I started noticing a quiet shift. Neighbors who used to hang around Amelia's block gatherings weren't showing up anymore. Someone even told me a few of her go-to moms had stepped away from the WhatsApp group she managed. She tried hosting a small neighborhood fundraiser for a local food bank, something she normally had solid turnout for. But this time, barely anyone showed up. Meanwhile, my brother messaged me asking if we could talk privately. No group chat, no voice note, just a text asking for a one-on-one. I agreed, but I made it clear that if he wanted to come over, he had to come alone, be honest, and leave defensiveness at the door. He arrived a few days later, carrying nothing but his phone and an unsure expression. We sat down in the kitchen. He admitted the ceramic dishes weren't broken. He had seen them, used them, and knew they were intact. He just hadn't wanted to start a fight with Amelia, so he kept quiet and went along with the story. I let him talk. I didn't interrupt. Then I told him that by choosing silence, he'd made a choice to side with dishonesty, even if he never said the lie out loud. He didn't argue. He didn't apologize either. He nodded a few times, then asked if we could move forward. I told him I wouldn't be hosting him again until Amelia took accountability, not on a stage, not in front of the family, but to me directly. Until then, the door stayed closed. Word must have gotten back to Amelia quickly. A neighbor later told me she'd been venting that I was manipulating her husband against her. Shortly after that, Amelia sent out her annual holiday card. Everyone got one, pictures of the baby, winter scenes, family updates. But on the family tree section, where she listed everyone's names and relations, mine was missing entirely. Not even a mention. My cousin posted a picture of the card in the family group chat with the caption, "Guess who's been erased this year?" That was all it took. One relative after another began sharing their own Amelia stories, things she'd done, comments she'd made, awkward moments swept under the rug for years. What started as one sarcastic comment turned into a full-on venting thread. That same week, I got an unexpected message. Amelia's mother reached out. We've never had much contact, but her message was short and clear. "I'm sorry for what you've been through. I see what's going on now." That was it. No excuses. No defending her daughter. Just a plain sentence that said more than a paragraph could. At this point, I knew the narrative had finally cracked open. The image Amelia had worked so hard to protect was now fraying, and not because I shouted anything. I hadn't yelled, exposed, or made scenes. I'd just shown facts and stayed still while the rest unfolded. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I started planning something new, something positive, rooted in real gratitude. It's a new tradition. One that would honor those who showed up, gave with sincerity, supported quietly, and made a lasting impact. Something that couldn't be faked, edited, or stolen. No more performative posts. No more curated gatherings to save face. This time it would be about truth, and the people who stood by it. It wouldn't just be an event. It would be a statement. I announced it 2 weeks in advance, a new tradition called the Home Contributors Dinner. It would be an annual gathering at my place, held every spring. The guest list wouldn't be large, but it would be specific, only people who had genuinely supported me or added something meaningful to my life in the past year. The purpose wasn't to exclude. It was to celebrate sincerity, kindness, and the kind of loyalty that didn't come with conditions. I spent a week finalizing the list. My cousin, who stood by me during the house drama, was at the top. A couple of older relatives who had distanced themselves from Amelia's spin made the cut. I even added the ceramic artist, who had become a quiet force behind everything. A few close friends were included too, people who'd helped me move furniture, who showed up to game nights, who saw through the noise. My brother and Amelia were not invited. I didn't send a group message. I designed formal invitations, embossed cards with gold-trimmed edges. Each card had a handwritten note inside, personal and specific. I didn't say why I started the tradition. I didn't mention Amelia or the fallout. The message was simple: you matter. You're appreciated. I want to share my space with you. I hired a local service to hand deliver each envelope to avoid any online trace. It was quiet and elegant, just enough to make people feel valued. The day of the dinner, I placed the ceramic dishes, yes, those dishes, at the center of the table, including the baby piece. No explanation, no story. I set them in the middle of a floral runner, surrounded by candles and fresh herbs. Everyone who walked in noticed. No one asked. They just smiled, 3 hours after the first guest arrived, Amelia posted on her private profile a vague post about being excluded from a family cult gathering and how some people were turning relatives into fans. A few of her usual circle commented, but the tone was different now. One person replied, "You could also just let people enjoy things." Another said, "At some point you have to move forward." Then it stopped. The day before the dinner, my brother had called. He asked if he could come if showing up would create a problem. I didn't yell or argue. I told him the truth. It was a night for people who had been honest with me. I said I hoped one day he could be part of it again, but this wasn't the time. Dinner night came and went like a quiet celebration. Everyone brought something: flowers, wine, dessert. We played music, shared stories, and ended the night with coffee on the back porch. No forced conversations. No tense silences. No one trying to control the moment. It was light, real, and peaceful. Midway through the night, I revealed a new addition to the tapestry. I had commissioned the textile artist to create a threadwork design shaped like a broken plate. It was embroidered in soft slate blue and stitched into the lower corner of the fabric. No names, no callouts, just a clear, quiet symbol. People clapped. A few smiled knowingly. No one asked questions. After the guests left, I received a handful of messages. One cousin said they hadn't felt that relaxed in a group setting in years. Another said they didn't realize how tense things had become until they weren't anymore. One relative who had previously stayed neutral messaged, "This is how it should have always felt." Then something unexpected happened. Amelia went silent. No updates, no group chats, no seasonal posts. The usual calendar invites she used to send for brunches, charity walks, and themed dinners didn't come. For the first time in months, she just disappeared. A few days later, my brother sent one last message. "I wish I had handled things differently. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. Just wanted you to know. I didn't leave it unread this time." I replied that I accepted the message, but I wasn't ready for anything beyond that. I let him know that trust takes time and rebuilding it would take more than words. Over the next month, the shift settled. Invitations that used to go to Amelia started coming to me. Relatives who once passed updates through group chats now sent them to me directly. I didn't just feel included, I felt prioritized. And not because I fought for it. Because I stood still and let truth speak louder than defense. I never screamed. I never cursed. I never begged anyone to believe me. I didn't destroy anyone's life. I didn't leak stories or spread rumors. I simply told the truth. One ceramic dish at a time, one stitched thread at a time. They threw away a gift to erase me, but all they lost was their seat at my table.